Absolutely. Medicure is the first company that we're watching out for. The company's raised around 1,000 crores via QIP and has indicated the proceeds will be used also for inorganic opportunities. To discuss this and more, we have Himanshu Baid, who's the MD of Medicure, joining in. Mr. Baid, thank you very much for taking the time out. Well, if you could just start by giving us a sense in terms of this 1,000 crores that you've raised via QIP, what is the kind of interest that you did see? How many investors participated? How many were probably foreign funds, domestic funds? And what's the utilization of funds?
So I think, thank you very much for having me on the show. I think the most important thing was that the common theme across outside India, especially the foreign investors, was that nobody was investing more in China in last 1.5 years. And even in our sector, medtech sector, I've seen that most of the large companies have kind of trying to move away from China. So I think now that China plus one story is playing very well. And for us, I think what's very important to build more capacity, more plants, so that we can cater to, let's say, more larger markets, global markets. Our business is still export driven, so we are seeing more traction coming to us from global markets, and that's the reason that we're building 3 new plants out of this QIP proceeds. And of course, we're keeping some watches for some acquisition opportunity, which we'll look into it in the next 4, 5, 6 months. And some money will go get into the GCP, general corporate groups.
All right. Hi, Mr. Baid. Good morning and good to see you. When I recall talking to you when the market capitalization of the company was a third of what it is today, and you said that, Nigel, there's immense potential, unorganized to organized, and even import substitution. It appears the street, in fact, is playing that story as well. Let's understand a couple of numbers then. 1,000 crores is what you have raised from a whole host of investors. So break it up for us. In the past, you have, I think, mentioned medtech is something that you were interested in. So will the acquisition be from that space? And what is the quantum of this 1,000 crores? How much would be inorganic? How much of it would be the core capex? And how much of it would be corporate governance that you were talking about?
See, basically, Nigel, we want to focus on technology because India, if you look at the current state of affairs, we are still 70% import dependent. So we need technology for manufacturing in the country. And our idea is to look at companies outside India where there is technology and where we can bring this technology and then grow it globally, which we have done in the past in our oncology business. We are seeing now big traction there. We did a small acquisition in Italy in 2019. So that's worked well. So I think similarly, we are looking at technologies in critical care or cardiology or in let's say, oncology space or renal space where we can expand. These are some of the businesses we are focusing on right now. And when we look at the allocation, so around 250 crores from this QIP is getting into allocation for future inorganic opportunities. And if we need to add more capital to it, depending on the business or acquisition we do, we'll add it from our internal accruals or even we'll take debt to do that. So I think the bigger idea is here to look at outside India for new technologies.
Okay, so you would look at outside India for newer technologies. But would that be more complex technologies, Himanshu? Because, the trend is that India is probably becoming more apt when it comes to consumables, when it comes to medical technology and export of that. But where we are lacking is probably high-end medical technology. So is that a space that you're looking at closely? Is that a space that you're going to probably look at in terms of inorganic acquisitions? And would 250 crores be enough for that?
See, I think the amount is not enough, right? So I want to answer that first. So I think, as I said, we'll add maybe more money from internal accruals or through debt. The important thing is our focus has been on import substitution. So we are still importing a lot of critical catheters, critical devices, and our focus will be to expand in that same area of critical devices. And most of it is import driven today in the country. So we will be working on substituting that by making them in India. And then again, going to global market, because today we're exporting to over 100 plus countries. So the target would be to make them in India, make them at a good pricing, bring in new technology, and then go to global markets.
Okay, all right. Let's get to the numbers then. The guidance, I think, for this year is around 20 to 24%, Mr. Baid, revenue growth?
Yes, we are sticking to that guidance, Nigel. Definitely, we are sticking to the guidance.
With a margin improvement of 100, 150 basis points, I understand.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Nigel.
All right, break it up for us then in terms of, the smaller businesses that are expected to start to contribute. The renal business, what kind of revenue will it do in this year? You had also launched the cardiology business. So what could that be? And the third driver is the US business, which is very, very small, but has a potential to grow. So on all these three parameters, what will the contribution be?
See, on the renal side, we are seeing the contribution going from almost 90 crores to 150 crores this year. So this business is actually now picked up well, and we see a big potential in India. And now next year we will also focus on export market. I think that's what we want to do in renal space. But India itself, the target is in next 4 to 5 years, we want to have around 20% market share of this category. And cardiology is a very, very new area for us. Just started a few months ago. So I don't have a guidance on this area right now, but I think the target is that in maybe next 4 to 5 years, we want to reach between 300 to 400 crores in cardiology business in India and outside India. And that's how we are building product and product portfolio in this area and focusing more on interventional cardiology today. And later on, we'll get into more, let's say more on the surgery side and maybe more on the structural heart side. That is what we want to do. Critical care, which we started. Yeah. Sorry, say again.
The US business also. So we got renal goes from 90 to 150. Cardiology will be 300 to 400 in the next 3 to 4 years. And US, you want to tell us?
4 to 5 years, 4 to 5 years. That's what we are.
And US for this year, how does it scale
on the US side, we have already given a guidance of 15 to 20 million over 3-4 years. So already, the exports have started to the US, and slowly we'll build up the whole, ecosystem, the whole supply chain. And we already have contracts in place. So we are building more products right now for the US market. So hopefully this year we will, end up doing close to around 2 million revenue. But then going forward 3 to 4 years should build up to around 15-20 million.
Okay, so you'll do around 2 million in terms of sales in the US. Just wanted to understand, Himanshu, there's a lot of PE interest which is being seen in the entire medical devices space, in the unlisted space at least. Give us a sense in terms of, what the interest is when it comes to private equity, probably for your company. Have you been approached to whatever extent you can talk about, and what are the industry dynamics at this point as well?
I think it's very clear that the industry is kind of carved out now from the pharma sector. And today we are 70% import dependent. So I think this gives a lot of, let's say, opportunity to domestic companies to scale up in India and also for the global markets. Because I spoke about this China Plus One playing very strongly. And there are very few limited opportunities for companies to manufacture products outside of China. And I think India promises to be the best place to manufacture these products. So my view is very clear that Indian medtech sector will grow very rapidly in next 5 to 7 years. And I think that's the reason that today PEs want to invest more money in this sector and expand. And I think globally medtech is on a roll right now. If we see US market, every company is doing well. In Europe also, almost every company is doing. So I think medtech per se is a sector which is going to be, pretty, say solid for next 5 to 7 years.
And any other segment that you would be looking to enter? You're in renal, you're in cardiology, but any other segment that you're looking at within the Indian space?
So I think it's more of a, let's say, natural progression. So maybe in future we could look into urology or gastroenterology, which are maybe closer connected to renal segment. So, but we have to keep on building the competence in every product area and also develop that clinical excellence. So I think that's what we are working on right now.
Okay. All right, Himanshu, we're going to leave it on that note. Thanks very much for joining in and speaking with us. So that is Polymed talking about 1,000 crores that they raised via QIP, and the company is looking to spend around 250 crores when it comes to inorganic opportunities, sticking to their guidance in terms of revenue growth, and would look to do around $2 million in terms of US sales this quarter. We'll take a short break. On the other side, Abhishek will focus on some insights on valuations of Cholamandalam and Bajaj Finance. Stay tuned.